Greetings from Hong Kong, everyone. Welcome back to a new month of exciting webinars, and thank you for joining us. Today's topic is a special one for us as we celebrate Denon's 110th anniversary. That's a long legacy as an industry leader, and to celebrate that, the Denon engineers crafted 4 limited edition anniversary models for the occasion. So we'll talk about that huge show in a moment. We have again a special guest joining us today, Jake Mendel. He's our Global Product Marketing Manager for AVR and Hi-Fi. Good morning, Jake, and thanks for your time. As usual, behind the scene is our lovely Jennifer, based in Rancho Bernardo, near San Diego. Without her, these webinars wouldn't be possible. We have our very knowledgeable Jim. He's joining us from Minnesota. We also have William Chang from Hong Kong. He's a Denon legacy expert who's been working with Denon for 25 years. And I'm Frederick, also joining you from Hong Kong. Together, we will keep an eye on all the incoming questions and we'll try our best to get them all answered live. Our host today is our training guru, Phil, and he joins us from his office in Carlsbad, also near San Diego. Over to you, Phil.
Hello, everyone. We are extremely excited about the launch of these new products, these 110 anniversary products. And this has a lot to do with celebrating the heritage of Denon. Denon has been around for over 110 years, which is a huge accomplishment. We always want to stress that Denon is the oldest Japanese audio electronics manufacturer. There are some companies out there that have made that have Japanese companies that have been around longer, but they start off doing other things. The very first product that Denon has ever did, basically a phonograph. And so we know that there's a legacy here. In addition to being the oldest Japanese audio manufacturer, they continue to innovate. We continue to innovate. If you look at, while we are always the first to offer the latest in technologies, whether it's HDMI 2.1, the latest surround sound formats, whether it's RO3D, IMAX Enhanced, and as we talked about earlier this year, DTS:X Pro. So we continue to lead the industry when it comes to the latest technologies and surround sound processing. Like I said, rich history in the audio business. When I had a chance, probably a year ago, to go to Japan, actually a year and a half, to go to Japan. And when you go to Shirakawa, which is our main facility where they manufacture as well as work on the design of our Denon and Marantz products, they have a museum. And it's really amazing because you walk in there and you get to see the heritage of the brand, and you get to walk through, and they have all of the really important, relevant products starting from the very beginning and working its way all the way up to the present. And the one that stood out to me that I loved when I walked up to it was they have a sample of one of the very first products they made, a phonograph. And you can see it even has a hand crank on it because it didn't even have electricity to it. So this is an example of that heritage. Another thing that really stood out was, in addition to being the first to, coming out with a gramophone in 1910, Denon was the first to sell stereo records. They developed the moving coil phono cartridge. You'll see the first direct drive turntables for studio use. I had a chance to go to Battery Park in New York City, and they still use Denon direct drive turntables in their recording studios. So when it comes to quality, when it comes to analog, Denon has always been there. In addition, we have been a leader in digital. So when we developed PCM, which is the foundation for the way that people record digital files for compact discs, as well as a lot of digital files that you play off of your PC. And this device here is actually the big box you see here is actually one of the early PCM recorders. So I love this product. When I was also at Shirakawa, I actually got to see them building these. This is a DL-110 Phono Cartridge. These are still made by hand by a couple of ladies in a small room in the facility in Shirakawa. This is the oldest, longest running, continuously produced audio product in the industry. We have been producing this phono cartridge since 1962. And actually, Dave Knauber, our head of Class A, actually utilizes this cartridge on his super high-end turntable, which probably costs more than my BMW. And he says that it's amazing the quality you get from a cartridge that sells for this price. To celebrate this long heritage of 110 years, they went to the sound masters and the designers and said, we're going to give you the opportunity to build limited edition products where you can go back in and make adjustments to its design as well as its sound tuning to make a product to celebrate our heritage. So anybody that's ever made a really nice product, I don't care what it is, well, even after a few years, they look back at it and say, wow, I could, that product is great, but if I could do it over again, I would make this subtle change or this big change based on their experiences with the product. So giving the sound masters as well as the designers the opportunity to go back and revisit some of these products and develop new products allowed them to go out and enhance them further. These products are very limited. I'm mad at Jake because they're so limited, he couldn't give me samples because I wanted to have samples behind me that I could actually show you, but Jake wouldn't give them to me. So Jake, where is my 110 samples? You got to make sure that you give those to me. So
I owe you one. I owe you.
you owe me one. I'll tell you which ones I want. But the first thing we're going to talk about is there's 4 models in this 110 anniversary series lineup, starting with the A110, which is a enhanced version of the Denon X8500 HA. So we know that the X8500 is the king currently of AVRs. 13 channels amplification, 13 channels of processing, 15 speaker terminals. Everything about this receiver is on another level. There's not another receiver on the market that can compete with an 8500. This is an evolved version of that, and we'll talk about what we've done to it. The construction of this product is absolutely amazing. We know that, and we will continue, and I will go through and explain it to you. So all of the great things that the 8500 has, the fact that the power supply weighs the same as an X1600, all of that type of stuff is still part of the A110. But then they were given, the sound masters and the designers were given the opportunity to take it further. So these products will be built in Shirakawa. So let's talk about the 110 first. It'll be built in Shirakawa. It is a version of the X8500 HA. So if you remember, we talked about the fact that there's two different there's two versions of the 8500. The 8500 that's currently available, which is the 8500H, and then if you send it back or you buy a newer version later this year, it's going to have the HDMI 2.1 board in it, and that will be separated by the an A at the end. So it'll go from an 8500H to an 8500HA. So this is based on that. So all of the HDMI functionality, the DTS:X Pro, all of those things that we talked about. They are going to be limited edition, limited production, limited availability, which means we're not making hundreds of thousands of these or tens of thousands of these. We are going to make a limited number, and that will also be serial numbered. So you'll see that you will get a certificate of authenticity and that tells you that it's limited and lets you know what that limited number is. Special logos to identify itself from other Denon models. So it looks different, it has different logos, it has a different warranty, comes with a signed certificate of authenticity because these are going to be rare items, and with special sound tuning from our Denon AVR Sound Master. So there's 4 products in the lineup. So let's start off with the Denon A110. So like I said, the goal of these products is people love their Denon products. We have a big heritage, and if you're a Denon fan, you're a hardcore Denon fan. So we want to celebrate that pride of ownership and make a truly, truly special piece. So this is the AVR-A110. The first thing they did was the exterior is different. All Denon products currently are black. This is actually a silver graphite. So the chassis, the whole exterior looks different. They have cleaned up the design. So instead of having a bunch of logos on it, those are removed. The LED display went from a blue to a special white. The knobs have been changed. The little cursor ring has been changed. A lot of those little design details have been changed. So when you see these two models side by side, this one looks unique compared to any other Denon AVR out there. So exterior wise, from the front and from the back, it looks different. So when you look at this unit and you see this unit, it's obvious that it's a special unit. And the only logo that's on the box on it is the 110 anniversary logo. So exterior wise, it's different. But also it's different interior wise. So if I went in and looked at this thing, I can see from the feet, they enhanced the feet that are on it from plastic, like a high density plastic, to a cast iron to reduce vibration. And as I build, and if every part of this thing, if I look at it, if you look there and I compare it to the last model, you'll see that a lot of the parts have been upgraded and many of the parts have been improved. So for example, there's a copper plate now that the transformer sits on to help shield it from noise and vibration. So not only does it look different on the outside, it looks different on the inside. So many of these products, some of the stuff are cosmetic, some have to do with sound, but it is a special piece. So this unit is all about performance. A lot of pieces have been designed specifically for this product when it comes to new capacitors, new type of feet, new terminals, the copper base plate. So the sound tuner went back and listened to it. It's almost like if you ask the sound tuner, if you can go back and redo it for you, what would you do that's different after listening to it for the last two years? So we went back in and said, how can I further improve its performance? Not only, and as I do that, the designers also got to go in and restyle the product as well. So it sounds better than a X8500HA, and it looks different. They've changed a lot. There's been about 285 electrical parts and about 153 mechanical parts that have been modified. So you have about 438 modifications. And the goal is to make it sound better and be a unique product in the lineup. So inside, outside, and the way it sounds, it is a enhanced product. Now this model will command a premium because it's limited, and it's almost like it's almost like buying a limited edition Ferrari. The limited edition model is going to cost more because there's more care, there's limited, they've been modified. If you are a Denon fan and you want to get one, make sure that you order one now or you acquire one now because there won't be a lot of them around. So this unit will sell for about $5,400 US, and it's already available and it's on sale. So if you've heard about it and you want to get it, make sure that you grab one if you get the opportunity. Okay. Any questions about the A110 before we move on to the next section, or anything else you want to comment about, Frederick, that I did not cover?
Well, there's a couple of questions coming in right now already, and I think William is helping out with,
Okay.
and Jen as well, with answering them. One of the questions was, will the A110 ship with DTS-X Pro support?
It will support DTS-X Pro. It just depends when the firmware is finalized. So right now, I believe that firmware has not been finalized, and it will be finalized, like as William said, probably by mid-November. So when that happens, not only will all the X8500s be updated to DTS-X, so will the AVR-A110. So moving on from that, these are the pieces that I am really excited about, that I'm looking forward to, because it's been a long time since Denon has offered this quality of hi-fi in the Americas. So I am looking forward to these two products. So they're also launching two new hi-fi pieces, a SACD/CD player /DDA converter / preamp, if you want to use it as that, as well as a high-end integrated amplifier. So and these pieces are the best pieces that we have, especially in America, when it comes to, for those people who are really, really into hi-fi. So there's two models, the DCD-A110 and the PMA-A110. And these are, I would say, based on a lot of the stuff they've learned on the audiophile SX series, which are only available in Japan, as well as some of the stuff technologies that were available in what's in the 2500 series, the DCD 2500 and the PMA 2500, which we never had here. But they've taken those products and they enhanced them. Because I remember a couple of years ago going to CS, and Denon actually brought the 2500 and the SX series models to put in our suite at CS. And people would come in and they had the lids off and they're like fine jewelry. And people like, wow, what can I get that in the United States? And it was like, you can't have it, because it was the things with like power supply issues and stuff like that, and their limited run, they just weren't going to do it for us. And we kept pleading and pleading and pleading and pleading that we wanted that type of hi-fi here in the Americas. And because of the fact that they wanted to celebrate the 110-year anniversary, they decided that when they were going to update and create these new models, they were also going to give us in the Americas the opportunity to have them as well. So that is really, really cool. So like I said, these are the highest quality amplifiers and SACD players available in the US from Denon. And so let's go through and explore them. Starting off with the DCD-A110. And so let's go in and talk about, so this is an SACD player. Of course, it'll also play CD, as well as you have the ability to have an asynchronous DAC in the back. So when it comes to the drive mechanism, because this is a disk drive mechanism, it has been upgraded, an aluminum die-cast aluminum tray for stability. It's heavy, copper plates for rigidity. Everything is designed to help reduce vibration, suppress vibration. Because if a disc wobbles or there's vibration, the laser can't track the disc as well as it should, and that reduces your sound quality. So making sure that disc spins perfectly and it is perfectly tracked means you'll get the best sound from that optical disc, whether it's Super Audio CD or a regular CD. In addition, it has improved alpha processing, which I'm going to have Frederick talk about. Now, this is actually a section that Frederick is passionate about. So I'm going to say batter up. And one thing you want to talk about is Denon has always been a leader when it comes to digital. And Frederick brought up this thing that Denon was involved and helped make one of the first digital recordings. So Frederick, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. So this is anno 1970, so it's the birth of the first digital audio recording. The thing is, there was a company called Nippon Columbia, which is a record label that was a subsidiary of Denon. So they worked together with studios and they knew what they were doing. They came up, this particular recording is actually the first commercial digital recording by jazz musicians Steve Marcus and Jiro Inagaki. And that was eventually released in January 71 on a vinyl LP. Mm-hmm. So it was recorded by the Denon engineers themselves using a prototype PCM recorder. So the release was also followed by some Mozart string quartet LP by the Smetana Quartet, recorded back in Tokyo in 72. So subsequent, there were all these PCM recordings that were later released on CD. So in the meantime, Nippon Columbia and Denon sort of amassed a collection of recordings. So they became pioneer in digital recordings to start off with. And because of that, they sort of understood what the problems were with digital recording. As you know, it's 44.1 16-bit, which is actually the weak point. And in order to counter that, they came up with a unique type of calculation, which they then called alpha processing. So if you look at the top left, you see how 16-bit 44.1 is not really a smooth curve. It's very stair-step type of profile. So what Denon started doing with this calculation, with this alpha processing, is filling the gaps to smoothen the curve so that they could get better in the direction of an analog waveform. So they do interpolation to smoothen out, so it would sound more close to the original sound. And that improvement was audible in terms of soundstage. So the soundstage became wider, the instrumentations, the location was better pinpointed. So that's pretty much how alpha processing started. And then if you go on to the next slide, what they've done now is gone to the ultimate latest style, the latest technology, the latest version of alpha processing, which we now call Ultra AL32 processing. So it's definitely improved compared to the original and also compared to the previous one. So now we're doing oversampling 32 times all the way up to 1.5 megahertz. So as you can see here, there's two types. You have the blue box, which is the sample rates that are supported by the DCD-A110, and then you have the red box, which is supported by the PMA-A110. So the difference is the integrated amp has a DAC built in, and it supports higher resolutions, simply because the discs that are used in CD and SACD, maximum sample rate you get there is 192 megahertz. Sorry, kilohertz. And then if you do the oversampling, you get to the 1.5 megahertz. And again, it does it in different ways based on whether you have 44.1 or 48. So there's two different clocks. And based on the original base sample rate, it will do the upsampling to go up to 1.5 or 1.4, depending on what sample rate it is.
I have an original early CD, Tracy Chapman. It's one of my favorite discs. Jim can't stand it. He says it's depressing, but I love Tracy Chapman Fast Card. It's one of the very first CDs I ever bought. It's the first CD I ever bought, and I still have that disc. Now, the big thing when CDs first came out, they used this. It was a 16-bit format. 16 bits only gives you 65,000 combinations approximately that you can use to generate a sound. We know that's a good big number, but that's nowhere near the numbers that's needed to accurately reproduce an analog sound. If I take that disc and I play it on a modern, I bought that disc in 1988. If I play that disc on a modern CD player, it sounds noticeably better, especially on the product like this, because of this thing such as the Alpha 32 Ultra 32 Ultra Alpha 32 processing. So you end up with a much better sound. So those physical discs that you have, all those older CDs you have, will sound better. And it can easily handle any high-res file that is available, whether it's DSD or whether it is high, ultra high PCM like 192.24. So it's a really cool thing. Now the other thing that was unique that Frederick brought up to me was it actually has 4 premium stereo DDA converters in it. Why, Frederick, does it have 4? I'm kind of curious about that.
Technically speaking, you would only need one DA converter to do a left and right. So in the standard CD, you see a PCM, it should be 1795. The 5 is missing there. And what they have done in order to make it perform better than a standard 1600 or a 2500 in this case, is use 4 times. So they use high, how should I say, they use it in different double differential mode. So you would use 2 for the left and 2 for the right. So what it does is it 2 times DAC for the left channel and 2 times DAC for the right channel. And it basically gives you better processing. You can see on the top the DA conversion, where you see the number 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's the conversions part. Then you see the alpha processing part on the left of that, and on the right you see the discrete IV conversion state. What it does is basically the input signal comes from the left. You have the power supply there. The conversion alpha processing is done first, then you convert the signal, and at the end the discrete IV conversion section is pretty much like what they do in Marantz. It's an op amp to do the additional filtering for the conversion stage. And this takes a lot of power. So what you should see probably on the next slide is that they use bigger transformers compared to the 2500s. In fact, they're actually 7 times or 5 times bigger than the original DCD 2500. simply because they have all these components in there in the filtering stage. So all this together gives you that you have a much finer, much more relaxed sound, much more detailed in terms of a result of your sound staging and definition. The thing is, it also has the FPGA processor in there, which takes obviously a lot of power. And so what they've done is they use dual port transformers, one for the analog side and one for the digital side. And then you can see the way they orient it. If you have an open top, they put them out of phase in 180 degrees different to prevent the transformers from interfering with each other.
So so if you think about it, this is separate power supplies for the digital and analog sections, because you can also this is also a preamp. So if you're just using it, if you wanted to, and you were just playing discs and stuff, digital files from laptops and things like that, you can just, this has variable out, so you can plug this directly into an amplifier and use it as a preamp. Correct, Frederick?
You could, if you want to, yeah.
Exactly. So really, really high quality analog, because even if you're going to drive a nice integrated, you want to have that signal and a separate power supply for digital. So it's so taken to the next level, which is actually really, really, really critical. And these are just like more examples of what we just talked about. And these transformers are made for Denon. Also, even the op amp that you talked about, the IV op amps, those are kind of made for us too, right? Those are kind of our own special recipe of op amp. That's not something that's bought off.
This is basically the Soundmasters themselves that came up with the circuit. How can we actually further improve? And then they used a similar concept of an op amp, but instead of using the op amp itself, they use separate components, just like as with their HDAM, in order to fine tune the sound to their own liking. So they have a specific set of rules and a specific set guidelines of which type of components will tweak the sound to the typical Denon sound.
So as you can see, when you talk about this product, that there is a tremendous amount of care that goes into it. Frederick has had the experience of being around a lot of these higher end Denon products, which is why I asked him to go through and explain a lot of these great new technologies. But this just shows the passion that Denon has when it comes to hi-fi. So, and that's why I'm excited about it, because every time I'd go to Tokyo or I'd go someplace else, I would see all of these Denon products that I could not get access to. And now in the US, we have access to some of the finest Denon audio hi-fi products that have ever been made, and I am extremely excited. The DCD-A110 is going to sell for about $3,000 US. Of course, you got to check your regions, and if you compare it to what was the best that we offered in the US last year, which was the DCD 1600, we look at the quad D to A converters.
Yes, quad converters. And the basic aim of all this is to get a higher signal to noise ratio and a lower error. So the better correction you get, the more processors you use, the higher your signal noise ratio. So basically you get a better high performance audio signal. The DCD 1600 is also a CD/SACD player. It has advanced AL32 processing as opposed to Ultra.
Okay.
The DACs are used, but this is only the PCM1795 advanced AL32 processing for the 1600 and Ultra AL32 processing. And somebody asked if this Ultra AL32 processing in the AVR, and that is a no, it's also advanced AL32 processing, just as in the 8500 and the 8500H A, which is the same version as the A, the non-A version, but with the HDMI 2.18K HDMI port in it.
It is a dramatic step up from the DCD 1600. Moving on, there's also an integrated amplifier, the PMA-A110, and this is a integrated amplifier with a DDA conversion built in. So let's go in and talk a little bit about this piece. Now, Frederick, you are on a roll today. So why don't you go through and talk a little bit about the volume control, because I think it's like trying to keep the two different paths separate, the audio and the volume control separate, right?
That is exactly the case. So what they've done here is for the first time introduced a electronic volume control. They use the Muse 72323 chip. And what that allows for is the volume control will electronically control the volume levels without the audio signal going through. So you have two signal paths. One is the control signal for the amplifier with the active gain control, and the other path is the actual analog input. So you have the one you see on the bottom part, the red arrow, that's the audio signal, and the green is the control signal. So it passes through a preamp which varies between 119.5 all the way up to 16.5, and then you have the active gain control, which then can have the power amp to go all the way up to plus 29 dB to amplify the signal. So the fact that the audio signal itself does not go through traditionally an analog potentiometer creates the shorter signal path, and you've got much better linearity. Everyone remembers the gain error that you have with the older analog amplifiers, where you slowly turn up the volume, you have an imbalance. It's like one speaker is louder than the other. So with this electronic volume, you do not have that problem. And at the same time, you also improve the signal to noise ratio quite significantly by getting this active gain control.
Look at the big brain on Frederick. I talk 2.1, he talks electronic volume controls. The next thing is the amplifier design is similar to the SX series too. And can you talk a little bit about this circuitry and how does it differ from what we were using in something like a 1600?
Well, it's pretty simple. The old version uses a three-stage amplifier circuit, and the new one, they have again shortened the signal path and use a two-stage instead. So that's pretty much what you see. Instead of 3 stages, you have 2 stages. You make the signal shorter, and this is a differential two-stage circuit which they have derived from the SX11. And of course also the SX1, which are the Japan domestic models
that you can only get in Japan. So
yeah, and the fact that you only use 2 stages instead of 3 makes that you can drive low impedance speakers. So you have much better stability. You can drive pretty much any speaker you want with this.
Yes. Now that's an important point that Frederick just brought up, because we've done whole sessions about speakers. And even though they call them 4 ohm or 8 ohm speakers, actual impedance varies with frequency. So your 4 ohm or 8 ohm speaker can go up to 8 and then drop down to 1 and come back up to 4 and go to 3. And so your impedance is doing this as you actually play sounds. So having the ability to drive any load with all these varieties of loads varies with stability means that you are going to end up with better sound. So this is another advantage of this piece. Okay, and this also, as Frederick mentioned, you said it also has the Ultra, but it's a little different, right?
Yes, it's the same Ultra 32, but the only difference is that you have higher sample rate, so you can go all the way up to 380 kilohertz.
So as you can see, I mean, the fit and finish, the products, the grades, the grade of the quality of the system. So a spectacular DDA converter built into the unit, and then a lot of the components that were developed for the flagship pieces that are only available in Japan were also utilized in here. So basically, they gave the sound masters the ability to build another piece, and they took their favorite components and designed a new piece that they could be proud of. And it is very limited and hard. It is a unique piece that you should be proud to own in your home. So we can go in here. It also has a very good phono preamp. Frederick, you had something else you wanted to talk about.
One of the engineers was tasked with putting a completely new phono stage in there, a phono stage for moving magnet and moving coil. So they came up with a discrete phono stage with a much lower noise and much lower distortion with passive RIA. So the headphone stage is basically 3 pieces. You have the head amp, which has the moving coil or the moving magnet selection. So it's either 35.6 dB or for moving coil, it's 57.5 dB, I believe. Then it goes to the RIAA equalizer, which reduces 20 dB. And then at the end, you have the second amp, which adds the 20 dB. So it's a much higher end, much higher grade phono stage and completely redesigned specifically for this product.
Wow, awesome. Thank you, Frederick. So as you can see, this piece is built to another level. So like I said, for us and for most people in the world, this is going to be one of the best Denon pieces they have ever had the opportunity to put their hands on. And of course, it's also limited edition. It comes with the certificate of authenticity and all of these amazing technologies that have been developed for this product or utilized from the flagship series models available in Japan only. And even the design is different. And it even comes with a 5-year warranty. Now, do we have any questions about the product so far?
Question from Carsten is, why weren't these offered in the Americas? And I think we're talking about the 2500 series. This is simply because the 2500 series have a different voltage, and the reason for the being 230 volts in European models, and that's the same reason for the Japan domestic models. The transformers are specifically tweaked for the voltages that are used in the Pacific country. So if you would have to convert these and bring them out for the North American market, it would be a different result. It would have a different type of performance, and they would have to tweak all the way through. So there's a limitation of certain products and also markets why certain products are available and why certain products are not.
Yeah, so those SX series and the 2500 series were, like I said, they don't make a lot of them. And then saying, hey, can you rebuild the power supply just so I can have it in America? And they're like, no, I like the way it sounds the way it is now. We're not changing it. So it wasn't, that is one of the things. So we literally, Jake has a couple of these things looking heroic in the office. Jake and Michael Greco. And you would just look at them and say, oh, they sound great. Can I hear them? And they're like, nope, they don't plug in a wall. We'd have to go out and get a really, really, really expensive transformer to switch the voltage so it would work in the US. And so it was just, that was the reason. So, but if they were going to go through and redesign it, they decided to make the power supplies something that could be used, come up with a global way of doing it so everybody in the world would get access to them. So that's what motivated them in order to do that upgrade, which is cool. It makes me happy. Now, the last piece you want to talk about is we're also introducing a phono cartridge. Because you think about it, the first thing we made was a gramophone. So we've always been part of that, of records and vinyl. We made, like I said, we sold the first stereo records. We wanted to also introduce a limited edition phono cartridge. Now, remember we talked about we have a phono cartridge, the 103, that has been in production for 50-something years. This A110 inspiration is the original DL-103, which was originally designed for broadcast studios. They made them for broadcasters.
It was in 1964 that the DL-103 was developed specifically for FM broadcasts studios together with NHK. So, but the thing is, the DL-103 for those specific purposes came with a head shell, and that was only used by all the professional studios in Japan. So we looked at the head shell and we recreated the original 103, DL-103, and recreated the head shell for that part. Maybe Jake can elaborate a bit on the leather case.
Yeah, you were talking about that yesterday.
Yeah, so the reason why we did the leather casing is because back in 1964, when we first brought this product, when DJs would go from radio station to radio station and go and be broadcasting there, they would like to have their own turntable stylus and head shell that would go on that. So rather than carrying around, just throwing it in their backpack or something like that, or using the radio's head shell, they actually brought their own. So we wanted to really incorporate that with 110 years, with this being our longest still in production product, and really just show the heritage and that message in a very compact, beautiful way.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, they made a beautiful cartridge, and then they made a head shell that made that best optimized that cartridge, and the DJ wanted to take it from studio to studio, so they came with the case. So that whole experience is available now. So like I said, these were developed for actual radio stations. So that tells you the quality of this particular cartridge and head shell. And like I said, it is still in production, but now instead of just getting the cartridge, because Jim actually has a DL-103, but this comes in a whole nother level. Like I said, it's finer tuned, it's still handmade in Japan. It comes with that a perfect reproduction of that original Denon head shell that it was introduced with, and it comes with the carrying case, so you still have that experience that when it was introduced, and of course it comes with the signed letter of authenticity. Now it does come with a 5-year warranty minus the stylus, because the style, oh, there's Jim. Actually, Jim has one right now. So Jim, you have that. So that's the way it normally comes, right? And that's about $299.
Yeah, this is it right here. Then it comes with looking like that on the inside.
Yeah. So the new one comes with but now because of the head shell in the case, it's the full experience. 5-year warranty minus the stylus, because like I said, the stylus is a wear item. So the regular 103 retails for about what is it, Jake? $299? Is that what the 103
Yeah.
retails for? US? Okay.
So the regular goes for $299. Yeah.
Yes. So the head shell, the case, a finer tune example, handmade in Japan. We'll put this one at $599 US, and that is a value when it comes to the performance of this particular needle. So I think it's and cartridge, I think it's a really, really cool thing. So if you're an analog guy, this would be a great thing to add to your collection. Anything else you want to add about this needle, Frederick?
Yes, if you go back to the history slide of the DL-103, you can see the length of that tone arm. That tone arm is really much longer than the tone arms that we see right now. So they took into account when they made the DL-A110. You can see it comes with a 4-pin bajonet connector to fit on the SME arms or something similar. So the SME connector is basically adjustable. So based on how your head shell fits on your specific tone arm, you can adjust the head shell. You can adjust basically the bajonet to fit, to make sure that it is properly aligned and properly balanced. What they have achieved is, so this is basically developed by Ryo Okazari. So Okazari-san is the guy who's been working in the analog. He started developing the cartridge in 1964 all the way. He is the person who actually refined and came up with the initiative to bring the anniversary edition. So they have improved the original 103 head shell by getting better channel separation and lower mechanical impedance to get to the better performance. So the mechanical impedance is seen from the stylus tip as small as possible, pretty much. And the idea is to get a minimum left-right difference within 2 dB separation. And the channel separation itself of 15 dB is achieved in kilohertz all the way to 20 dB for the 100 to the 5,000 hertz frequency range.
Yeah. So I mean, it's an amazing phono cartridge. So now now we need a fancy turntable. Hey Jake, can you send me one of those? Can we get one of those fancy Denon turntables that I can put the head shell on?
Man, this list is just going up.
Exactly. So yeah, so I think it's a great piece. All right. So like I said, Jake, why don't you talk a little bit about when it looks different on the inside, it looks different on the outside, these new 110 products, and because it's a special product, it's actually packed in a special way. So do you want to talk a little bit about the packaging and how the customer's unboxing experience?
Yeah, so with the 110-year anniversary, we really did want to change this unboxing experience to make it a special. Since it is a limited run and so few are going to be able to get their hands on this, we want them to experience every part of this. So it'll come in a beautiful new white packaging with the 110 logo. You can see on the left inlaid over that. And then once you open it up, well, to start with the packaging, we got rid of all the logos. We didn't want to make it a big giant mess of what we can do, because you guys all know what Denon brings to the table. So then once you go through that, you can go into the accessory tray where we have a certificate of authenticity signed by the head engineer for each product, and new boxing all around.
Yeah, and that's one thing. Like one thing that I've noticed every time I go to Japan is the care they take whenever you purchase something when it comes to the unboxing experience. I don't care if it's a piece of cake or I buy my wife a present, and just the care of, they're so proud of the product itself, that they really go out of their way in how they wrap it, because that's the first thing that a customer gets is and experiences it is the taking it out of the box. So the unboxing experience is there, and they wanted to kind of give you that same. There's a lot of care went into just that because they're so proud of these particular products. And like I said, they come with a 5-year warranty, and you will get this, like I said, the certificate of authenticity with its serial number. Because like I said, these units are going to be pretty rare, and which will make them something that will be people are going to want for years to come. And being able to say this is an actual unit is a great thing. So really, really cool. So do we have any questions about any more questions about the 110 series? And of course, the 110 will have the ability to do 8K up conversion. So like I said, it has 1 in and 2 outs when it comes to 8K, 40 gigabits per second, 8K. And then it will take the other 7 HDMI inputs, and those can be up converted from HD or 4K to 8K, just like the X8500 HA. Okay.
So
Well,
when
I'm
it's
actually going to throw out a bomb here too, just because on the way out, because everybody, so people show up. We're going to also do one on HDMI 2.1 Revisited. And we get asked a lot, your receiver has 1 in and 2 out. But I heard that another guy's receiver has multiple ends. Why do they have multiple ends and you only have 1 in? So yes, it has more inputs, but it's using compression. It's not the full 40 gigabits per second. So we decided that if we were going to do it, we were going to use the uncompressed highest bandwidth option available. That's why we picked the piece that we picked. And they do not upscale. Thank you, Leonidas. So lack of upscaling, compressed. Okay, it's compressed, and it uses what's called digital direct stream compression, or DSC, or whatever that's called. So yeah, so we're the only one. So if you want uncompressed 40 gigabits per second, that's the way to go. But we had time. All right, and that was something that people asked me about, and I wanted to squash that down. All right, so I think unless there's any more questions, oh my gosh, we are done early for the first time ever. so I would like to thank my loyal and helpful team that has always helped support me and us to get these done. Whether Frederick for being the big brain in hi-fi, along with William for answering those questions in the chat, Jake for coming and letting me poke on him about not giving me his A110s, and Jen herding this mad pack of cats to ensure that we are all aligned. And Jim, who's back there hiding in the shadows today, because he's going to take the rest of the day off and he's probably ready to disappear. All right. So thank you guys again for coming, and hopefully you got some useful information. And it's always great to talk to you every week. And we shall talk to you soon. Adios.